Where did we stray? And Raymond, ever since that interview yesterday, a lot of people have been sending it to me. They've been commenting about it. The fact that Dr. Yapebi said a lot of things that the majority of Ghanaians would want to say today, isn't it?
Certainly. These are conversations people have with their friends at home, with family, at the various spaces. Every person who cares about this country is asking the same sort of questions. How did we get here? How come we are falling this far that now we basically are begging other states to go and beg other states for us? Because we are in seeking. This is the Black Star of Africa we are talking about. This is the country that had its leader stand before the French president and said to him, we are no longer going to be begging for aid. We believe in opportunities and business arrangements, and that the trade should be fair. If you have fair trade, we can stand on our own. That particular speech by the president was trumpeted across Africa. If I check its YouTube views, very massive. All the comments on it were that this is an African leader we've been looking for a very long time. Some comparing him to Nkrumah, some even going as far as saying that visionary leadership on the continent is back in the front burner. I mean, this is just a couple of years ago. So if we have fallen this far, you check Ghana. The only time I heard some good news about this country was sometime around the Christmas festivities and the recreational activities that were happening in the country. Beyond that, all the major institutions that produce business news, you hardly see Ghana on the list of anything good happening. In fact, there is a story that said famous for the wrong reasons, and listed Ghana as part of the country that are completely on the wrong turn. How we got here is important, and I am stressing that if the likes of Yapebi speak up on the matter, it will not be reduced to a conversation that a few people have been having. Winston, barely 2-3 years ago, this conversation was purely that of only journalists and some watchers. If you do recall, the likes of Lord Mensa and the likes of Godfred Bokpin were the ones cautioning largely. When we talk about it, it was almost sounding like, you people are too pessimistic. You do not know that we can turn around the corner in ways that can change. Some people in this republic would even call you. I recall there was a Catholic priest who has sent a message I shared with colleagues that every morning he listens to us. He gets the impression that all that we are saying is negative stuff. And said that Good Morning Britain will not be doing that. I mean, at the core of this, I'm so convinced that it will be a lot of joy to wake up and come and everything you talk about is good news. Ghanaians doing this great thing here, Ghana evolving and getting all the good press all over the world. But that's not the reality. We cannot bury our heads in the sand and pretend all of this was not happening. If a lot more people got on board and said, no, listen, you are taking the wrong turn. Let's slow down here. Let's not be disinterested in doing this and that and all of the things that we are doing wrong. I am so convinced we could have actually, if not turned the corner or not gotten where we are, we could have actually weathered the storm properly. But people decided to mind their business. And I believe that is predominantly because of self-preservation. But also, we had created a space that made it even look like if you complain about what's happening in this country, you are either with opposition, or you don't care enough about this country, or you are pursuing a regime change agenda. And even your own friends, they'll look in your face and say, that's for your setup. That's all you do. But now it's blowing up in all of us, our faces. You hear your own finance minister, who said we were proud a couple of months ago, coming back and telling you the same thing, that if we do not, in the next month that we are entering, get an IMF deal, we are going to crash. If that is not a panic signal to you, if that does not tell you where we are today, nothing else will convince you that we are in the ditch. But again, I'm also insisting that even in this ditch, we are not acting like people who would want to prevent this happening again. And because a lot more people are not speaking up about what could be done differently going forward and why everybody will be interested in making sure we all do it right. And that is why, to me, the purpose of this world give hope. Because anybody will know, at the time that we're in university, these were the gentlemen that gave real thinking. See, there were two lives you could live, right? You could do all the other things. If you don't have money, the small money you take from your parents, the things you're able to do with it. You could also engage in buying going around, attending beaches and all of that. Or if we're mindful of your future, set some aside. Have an investment culture following keenly, and you'll be interested in building a better future for yourself. He's not the only person I've heard say so. I've heard Dr. Kamala before say sometimes when he's listening to younger people, he's worried because they spent years telling people to invest. And that an investment culture is a responsible behavior. Now, it doesn't appear that is what the signal that we currently are having is sending. And that to him is more worrying. That people felt, if I had spent my money on chasing women, if I had spent my money on doing other things, or spent it anyhow, it would have been better than it being now taking through what is been happening now. And me fighting for my money, me having to go pick it. And no state, if you don't have any respect for your elderly, no problem. Because they accept your state. If you don't have any respect for them, that's fine. But you should not burden them in the stages that they are weak and fragile to come and picket for what belongs to them. It's unconscionable. But we are okay with it. We have it like a normal conversation. Those are the signals that sent to me that we are not really truly interested in turning the corner. We are just interested in going through this moment and getting back to our old ways.
You know, Raymond, one would expect that at this stage, these persons who are old and fragile would be taken care of by the state.
Yeah.
In
Elsewhere, that's what
in
they
fact,
do.
would expect that the state would say, you know what? I think you need better protection. I think you need better livelihood. Have this. Unfortunately, the state is taking the little they've toiled for all their years. Look, over the weekend we're having a conversation where one person who was a director of operations of a major state enterprise in this country is on retirement with pensions of about 500 Ghana cedis a month. 500 Ghana cedis. 500 Ghana cedis a month. So if that person on retirement has some money and decides, I want to put my money in bonds, is this how best the state that he toiled for all his life, in some instances, 40 years, can pay him back? Because I look at my father's generation, a lot of them finished middle school and became pupil teachers. They started teaching, went to the training college, came back where they were about 21 years and started teaching. So for 39 years of their lives, they were serving the state. And after they were done, this is how the state pays them back. Look, today, people ask me the question. They ask me, what do I do? Where do I put my money? And I tell them, I wish I knew where you could put your money, but I do not know.
And that damage,
look,
it will take years. And see, it's conscious, right? We spend a long time convincing people that there's a financial market that we should invest in this. Okay, we are on the right path. Others did stories to support our call, and we were truly becoming the shining star of Africa. The damage we are doing in weeks, months, in the last few weeks and months, we have not calibrated properly how long it will take for people to now begin to trust the system. And that trust element is also raised by our PEBI again.
Exactly. And let me tell you, for the first time, I'll tell you a plan I had years ago. I haven't said this on air, but I'll say it today. In the heat of the financial sector cleanup, I also lost some money, but not much. But I decided to keep my money at Data Bank for a reason. I said, when I keep my money at Data Bank, I wouldn't have a problem. But at the back of my mind, I said in 2024, in an election year, I would take all my money, keep it in the bank, because I don't know what could happen. So that if the NPP loses, I don't know of any cleanup that could even affect Data Bank so that I lose my money. Listen to this. All of a sudden, today, people are thinking about even where to put their monies, because all of a sudden it is becoming a political decision even where to put your money.
That's true.
That is how we have run this country. We have run this country to the level that today, people who toiled, and look, I'll be very honest with you. Winston Amoah, I find it even difficult upon all the preachings I do and about all my Ghanaians. I don't keep all my money in the Ghanaian banks. I don't know when there'll be a next cleanup.
And you're not alone, no.
I don't know.
Listen, we've forgotten that just around the corner, we did some financial sector cleanup.
Yes.
We've forgotten that just around the corner, a lot of money. We claim we spent some 25 billion on this. Ask the people who actually were supposed to be on the amalgamated trusting, how much of that installment have they received so far?
The people whose monies were converted to bonds,
Yeah.
today are being told to get onto the domestic debt exchange program.
Can you believe that?
In 2020, to the persons in this house here that were not paid their monies, the whole of the year, they didn't get their money. They were promised payments. And I know government officials, including MMDCs, who called and said, when are they going to pay our money? Look, we may think that it doesn't matter, but there's one thing that Yalpebi said, and it's something I've said before. It will get to a time that you, Raymond, and I, when people are attacking us, they would attack us because they would say we did not make enough noise about their conditions. They would say, when we were suffering, you didn't speak up enough. Yes, you spoke about our sufferings, but it was not loud enough to get people to act. It will get to that point, you'll be driving on the street, and that man will stop you. And when he stops you, he would say, you are part of the problem. Nobody is saying, look, nobody is saying, go and stand somewhere and start causing trouble.
Yeah.
If labor, TUC, and that's a weakling, if TUC was able to get government to suspend plans of adding the pension funds, TUC could have threatened government in the same light that if you don't cut down expenditure, this is what we are going to do to you. Enough. We've had enough of your hide and seek, enough of the things you've said to us that you do not really mean. This is the time to show us that you really care about the people. Yes, exempt pension funds, but that's not just all. Cut down the size of government. Show all of us that you care about the problems that we are all facing. And I tell you what, if TUC threatens government with a shutdown, the president will not be maintaining his 85 ministers, telling us that they care. The finance minister will not be sitting there telling us that they've cut down expenditure. He wouldn't be telling us that we've cut down, fuel coupons, we've done this, we've done that. No, he would come with tangibles. He would come with figures. But you see, when TUC goes to sleep, when Labour front, they are sleeping. They do nothing about it. Winston Amwa, I am scared. I am scared because I don't even know today what becomes of the little investments.
Yeah.
Today, you don't know where to put your money. You don't know what will become of you tomorrow. And all of us are quiet. We are not saying go and carry weapons. We are saying speak up for government to do the right thing.
Did you guys see the old persons who carried placards yesterday to the Ministry of Finance? I mean, these are old people who are retired. They should be resting at home. Some of them have various conditions. I mean, they talk about their medical conditions, the fact that some of them have blood pressure issues, kidney, and you need medication, and they don't want to be burden on their children. I mean, you have a grandfather, you have a mother, you have a father. They've worked so hard because they don't want to be a burden on you. They decide to invest. I am very surprised and sometimes shocked that we're allowing our pensioners to go through this to the extent that they will carry placards and picket and say that they will continue to do it until they are totally exempted. And we have leaders in this country, we have the church, we have various religious groupings who will not speak up for these old persons. We will all grow old someday. I mean, you talk about the TUC and they will go on pension someday. They will not become an association like that. They will be parts of retired persons and they will be pensioners. I mean, I think it's heartless for us to see our old people go through this. Dr. Ananientri speaking every day. Shouldn't he be resting? Shouldn't he be resting? And there are a lot of people who are looking up to him because he's an expert. And even though he's retired, he's carrying all this burden on him and speaking all the time. Why? We can't be that heartless. Why? Where are the trustees on the cathedral, the board of the cathedral? Where are all the people who used to speak up? I think that this is the time. We shouldn't let these old people be begging to be exempted. Why?
Look, Manavi, let's listen to an affected bondholder We had the opportunity to meet the finance minister after the picketing by pensioner bondholders at the finance ministry, and she asked a very simple question. Why was government keen on including their bonds knowing well enough that they rely on their coupons for survival? Listen.
So it's not an issue of I don't want to be part of it, but an issue of where we are as a country, where we are going, what is it that I have taken from you, and how do we recover going forward? So, Madam, if there is anything, I think it will be fair for me to hear and see what I have not done.
We know that you talk about moving from 0 to 15, but you see, none of us contracted bonds at 0%. So it's hard for us to even make a comparison from 0. For us, we look at it from what terms we accepted when we took our bonds that were issued. And if we are haggling over 3%, that should tell you how dire our situation is and how vulnerable we are. If 3% means so much to us, so that's what we want you to look at. We are asking for you to totally exempt us from this program. We are not that many, you know. You know the total value. You do know that a third of us or so go beyond 5%. But those 5 years. But you know, when people were buying bonds, they saw the terms of the bonds. And they had objectives when they bought bonds. Their objectives are that they are looking for maturities to match certain plans in their lives. And that is why people picked bonds that they picked at the time that they did. So even though it's a good thing that you may be wanting to bring some people whose bonds mature way beyond 2028 to that point, bringing it forward to 2028 or so, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing that you are doing for them, because they have their objectives and they know why they picked the bonds that they picked. But please, we depend on our coupons. We've done all the math. We know what to expect. We know how to add that to whatever other income we get, either from Social Security or whatever. We've planned our lives around these bonds. Some people, when they do the computation, they tell you that what they are going to be getting per month or so is just like 1,000 cedis or 2,000 cedis or something, but they have planned their lifestyles around it. So please, total exemption is what we ask. We are not many. Please look at us and do this for us. We are vulnerable. We don't want to be a burden on you, on the country, or on our children. We want to be a burden on ourselves. And so we planned our lives in such a way that we will be a burden on ourselves. So please, we know that you will give us some good hearing and consideration. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for this. You know, the challenge that we have is that we have an economic crisis. We do have an economic crisis. And I think if people truly want the elongated bonds, that's easier to do. It's less burden on us. We thought, really, and that was one of the huge things that Dr. Edward Anani and co were saying, that look, this 12 years is too long, I'll be dead by then. And so we found it, necessary to find a way to bring it to 5 years. The question that we have is that if we do not get our economy stable, your 18 or 40% or whatever would mean nothing.
And I've been looking at the song of culture, Where Did I Stray? In my father's house, a lot of things.
Yeah.
The same people who told us, Yetisikaso, Sekomde. Leadership was everything. In fact, in some instances, we're told running a country is not all about natural resources.
Yeah.
Singapore wouldn't be where they are today. It's the brains, leadership. We were promised a haven in 18 months. We were told, try me and see. For the third time, why not? We say, Today, after the third time of knocking and finally opening, this is where we are. I am not sure this is what Ghanaians bargained for. Ghanaians wanted something better. Listen to the pension bondholder. She says, all we want is to be able to take care of ourselves. We want to be responsible for our own survival. We don't want to be a burden on you. Okay? In the past, we said, for instance, when you give birth to children, we say, they've given enough to the states. One would have expected the state to have invested their monies properly and taking care of them. The state did not invest their monies properly. As for the Senate issue, it's not something we're going to talk about today. They did not invest their monies properly. So when they got their money, they decided to put it in government of Ghana bonds. At least that would bring them some good returns. This is where we are. This morning, very soon we'll be engaging Professor Godfred Bokpin, Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School. And also Martin Kpebu, one of the conveners of the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, the later merged Individual Bondholders Forum. The finance minister says, if you don't participate, we cannot meet our commitments. And he's urging us to help him so he would help us. I thought the help should start from the finance minister, start from the government by cutting down and helping us and pleading with us to minimize our request of government so that together we can restore this country to macroeconomic stability. After all, you say you're suspending critical projects, aren't you? So why don't you talk to us and say, I am cutting down expenditure. I am, denying ourselves these because of the times we find ourselves in. Well, so let's get on to the phone lines now. Professor Godfred Bokpin, who is Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, has joined us. We have Martin Kpebu, who is lawyer for the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, also joining us. Even before we get into, the finance bit of it, let me say good morning to you, Martin. Good morning to you, Professor Bokpin.
Good morning, Winston.
Great. So, Martin, let me start off with you because, you were in some of these meetings and the thinking was that by deadline today, you'd have been exempted. It doesn't seem to have happened. The finance minister is now telling you that if you don't participate, government cannot honor its commitment, and he wants you to help him so that he helps you. Martin, what's your take on that?
Winston, the one word, the finance minister has bungled everything. He's just bungled. This communication is not what should be coming from the finance minister. It only betrays his super incompetence, something that we thought we should benefit of the doubt. But each time he just reinforces it that he just doesn't get it. He's lost touch, super incompetence. Winston, why do I say so? Every Ghanaian, as of now, has understood that the way to go is let's cut expenditure. Let's cut expenditure in the budget. We're going to spend 227 billion. Why don't we cut? The experts have come to confirm what we started. You remember this bonding when we started that Monday, within 9th January in your studio, FM. As lay people, we all agreed that cut expenditure. Then later the professors came in, the economists, they came in and said cut expenditure. Furiata is not a consummate economist, not fit for the office. That's always been the plain truth. And that's how come he and the president have to resign. Because their incompetence is just sunk at too low.
Martin. So he's finance minister now, deemed by Ghana's parliament to be competent to hold the position. So let's look at your concerns with the decisions he's making now. When you met him, you said you got that impression. Today, he's come up with an amended memorandum. And last night he says, help him so he helps you. That's what I want your take on. He says you should help him so he helps you. What are you going to advise your members to do?
We are not signing up. Individual bondholders are not signing up. You see, when the finance minister said people should sign up, then you see, they had the effrontery to ask that what are individuals going to do to help the situation. I thought for him to ask that question, He should have said, look, first of all, he will return the hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis that Data Bank is made from this same borrowing that has led us to this trouble, the reckless borrowing. So the first thing you should have done, before you talk about the speck in somebody's eye, remove the log in yours. You say, oh, people of Ghana, this money we made through Data Bank, and now me and the president, our families become very rich. We are returning maybe, let's say, 80% of it. Then the conversation can begin. But as long as President Kufuor and Oforiatta keep the money they've made from the bonds, individuals will not bring theirs. And it's not as if Ghana is going to collapse. All we have to do is to take off some of the projects. Everybody agrees. So why is Oforiatta insisting on killing Ghanaians in order to get a message for election 2024, breaking the 8? Why?
Let me get
Everybody agrees that cut expenditure.
Let me get to Professor Bokpin, and let me say that, yes, the Data Bank have been transaction advisors, but Martin, we do not have evidence that President Akufo-Addo and Ken Oforiatta have become rich because of that, and that's why they are not taking decisions. So let's get to Professor Bokpin. And Prof, let me start with you on this point. The Finance Minister, in addressing the nation, makes the point that suggests that if we don't do this, we're crashing. You and I have had this conversation before last year, and the prediction was by September we're going to crash. Well, we run to the world IMF before then. But today, the Finance Minister says we are faced with the prospect of losing everything that we've worked for. Isn't that the more reason that we should be signing on to this, Professor Bokpin?
Good morning, Winston, and your good friend. Good morning to your cherished listeners. That's interesting. Yes, I agreed largely with the Minister of Finance that we are living dangerously. The situation is quite precarious. Per our own estimate, our international reserves on net basis perhaps may not be able to take us beyond middle of March. I'm very hopeful that we will be able to get an IMF program by the end of Q1, quarter one. That will be good for us. That said, Winston, we must consciously correct the narrative that seems to suggest that Ghana may collapse or something simply because bondholders did not sign up. That does not reflect the reality. That is a lie. That is being told, and it must be corrected. Individual bondholders did not apply for an IMF program.
Okay.
Pensioners did not apply for an IMF program. It was Ghana government that applied for IMF program. It's this government that said that they can govern. Now, why are we saying so? When your debt is considered to be unsustainable, and the IMF doesn't lend to an unsustainable situation, we have a triangle approach. Fiscal adjustment, structure, debt restructuring. Now, the politicians, as they have always done, and Winston, it's not only this government. Look, let me give you an example. In the middle of 2014, remember the regime at that time didn't also want to go to the IMF. We had our own homegrown fiscal consolidation. In fact, the finance minister then was very conscious of the fact that an IMF was not an option. Somewhere middle of 2014, our international reserves on net basis could only cover our imports for about 2 weeks. That was how precarious it was. And that was how come the president then made a call to the IMF. Now, in 1965, Winston, our international reserves had gone down from a positive $269 million at independence to negative $391 million. That was why Dr. Kwame Nkrumah made a call to the IMF. We have history on our side. And even that was why, towards the end of 2021, there were reasonable people in this country who started urging the government to go to the IMF. Now, if you check the Article 4 surveillance that the IMF did running to April 2022, the IMF, we even considered that report to be overly diplomatic. The IMF had concluded that our debt was sustainable, but of course at a high risk. It was the same position Ghana attained in 2014. If Minister Enoforiata had been proactive, and we have traded off pride and selfish interest for the common good, that was the optimal time to have made a call.
Okay.
There would have been no need for Ghana to restructure it there, because the IMF, per their own assessment, concluded our debt was sustainable but at a high risk. It was the same status Ghana attained in 2014 when we applied for the 16th IMF program that kicked in from April 3, 2015 to April 2019.
Okay.
The reason I'm drawing this comparison is to let you know that we are in this mess simply by not being proactive, by pride that has very little underlying economic value. Now, if the problem is largely fiscal, that must inform the extent of the solution and where it should come from. Winston, if you look at the debt sustainability, the DSA, our debt to GDP ratio in present value, and the minister mentioned that yesterday, in present value terms, actually it's more than 105%. We are looking at around 110, 12% of GDP in present value terms.
Yes.
Now, to reduce that to 55% in 5 years, it cannot be done. And I have said it before, that the IMF ought to be considerate with that cutoff date, that the framework they are using must reflect context and country-specific dynamics. It cannot be one size fits all.
Okay.
So one of the things that the government could do, also leveraging on the international community, is to ask the IMF to extend that timeline. It's not realistic. Now, if you want to reduce your debt in present value terms from 100 and let's say 10% of GDP to 55% in 5 years, you must do a primary surplus of not less than 12%. No country has ever done that. Even 5%, no country in Africa has been able to do that. Even 2% is so huge. And that is why you see in the 2023 budget, the contribution of fiscal adjustment to reducing the debt to GDP ratio is 0.7% of GDP.
Okay. So, Prof, currently, today is the deadline. The major question for many of these individual bondholders is, do I sign? If I do not, what happens to my bonds? You are the expert here. What should they do?
From where I sit, and let me make a disclosure here that I don't have a CD in bonds. I don't. So people need to have that, probably look at that with respect to what I say. I do not think that individual bondholders should sign the will. I do not.
Why?
I do recognize that a certain level of debt restructuring is inevitable. But we are not at a point where we could ask individual bondholders to come to the table, because the fiscal side that caused the problem has not done even the average. Once the fiscal side hasn't done what it's supposed to do, there is no imperative for the burden for us to shift disproportionately the burden to individual bonds or even institutional holding. It hasn't worked that way. Look, if we don't correct that now, and we coerce our own people, pensioners, and the rest of them, Winston, we will go through this probably in less than 3 years. there may be the need to restructure our debt again. Why are we so? If the problem is largely governance, then governance reforms must underpin the structural adjustment and the necessary anchoring structural adjustment so that whatever gains we make under the IMF program will be sustainable. We should not allow that to happen. You know what we are doing, if we are not careful, we are creating the incentive for the political elite through political capture, govern, borrow, use it anyhow, and they know that they can apply a haircut on all of us. No. Please, individual bondholders have not applied for IMF program. Ghana government that applied for the IMF program must demonstrate leadership on the table. Yesterday, the Minister of Finance was saying that expenditure rationalization is also ongoing. Please, he should give us the savings that has been made, because these ones, we should be able to quantify them, because how much pensioners will lose, how much individual bondholders, all of them will lose. We can quantify it and look at the fiscal savings and how that will reduce debt to GDP ratio. They should demonstrate to us. Okay. You know why? And the reason we are saying so is not because we are anti-republic. Look, to a large extent, of course, we know in part, we prophesy in part. Great. We don't know it all. But we have a reasonable understanding of where we are. And we know what fiscal adjustment expenditure cut can bring on the table and lessen the burden on creditors. We know.
Okay.
When it gets to the point where we need to appeal to individual bondholders to come on the table, Winston, we will do it for God and country. But we are not at that point now. So no individual bondholder should sign. Government must do the necessary expenditure cut, and those are low-hanging fruits. If you cannot do that, don't alter the lifestyle of individual bondholders. The state cannot prescribe a lifestyle for certain categories of the citizens simply because they have invested in government bonds. No. People invest because they want to have a lifestyle choices. We are not at the point where the state will prescribe the kind of clothes I put on. No.
Okay. Now, the concern has been the tradability of these bonds. And, last week when the government, issued a statement, it warned about the challenges that could be associated with the tradability of these bonds if the individual bondholders do not sign. Again, you are the one with the expertise in the field.
Winston.
Yes.
To some bondholders, it's not so much about tradability. They want to hold on to the bonds to maturity. They take their money.
Okay.
Please, let tradability be a market issue, not the state prescribing liquidity. We are not on the sea.
But you've also seen government, for instance, when they issued the amended exchange, indicating, for instance, in paragraph 7, 8, and 9 that we've been discussing, suspension of payment of maturing, principals. This, for many, is a sign of things to come. Why don't they just get in and they'll be free?
Well, that is a signal the government is sending that. And it's almost like a threat. And that if you don't sign up, this is what will happen to you. But we know that any decision to default on existing bonds is intentional. It's intentional. Because if you look at the budget, it does not mirror that the country is actually in a default situation, and therefore is embarking upon a preemptive debt restructuring. Look at the budget. Look at the lifestyle loaded in the budget. So how do you convince anybody that we are in crisis moment when your budget for the expenditure side is expansionary this way? No. So what we are saying is that we understand the situation to some extent. Of course, we do not be at the same level as the Minister of Finance, but that is fine. We can give him that benefit of the doubt. But we are saying that we need to get to the point where fiscal reforms and governance reforms contribute significantly to reducing debt to GDP ratio. We can still run a budget deficit, but that deficit can be debt-reducing budget deficit. Okay, that's right. Look, Winston, let me put this across. when the IMF had a press conference, they told us certain prior actions.
Sure.
One of them, debt restructuring. Of course, audit of COVID-19 was a prior action from the IMF. The government didn't want to do it. Great. PRC adjustment and the rest of the can still of that. Then they said that they also need assurance from our financiers, development partners, because the 2023 budget has a huge deficit, which is an indication of the borrowing requirement of the government. Now, if you cost the IMF program, of course, it's not out yet, but we have a fair idea, given also the existing IMF program. If you cost the program, you actually need more than the IMF is able to provide in translating the program objectives into actual. So that requires some kind of financiers and development partners coming on board to close the funding gap. Because we've lost access to Eurobond market and the domestic market in terms of the medium to the long term, government has been priced out. There is a funding gap that has to be closed through our development partners and then financiers. Of course, you can understand why Ghana Beyond Aid is now beyond us, and we are begging others to beg others on our behalf, right? Of course, if you read the Ghana Beyond Aid, it's actually not aid rejection or anti-aid. It's to align aid. So philosophically, it might not be contradictory, right? Yes. So that is where we are. But you see, if you look at just 2006, we finished HIPIC and multilateral debt relief initiative. Look at where we are now. So I see this crisis as a good one, where the middle class and all of us come to the table and shape governance. Ghana's problem is largely governance, which manifests especially in economic mismanagement. And that is why everybody is moving from the real sector, private sector, to joint governance, because you know that over there, you can have a lifestyle of your choice within the shortest possible time. And that is cost. An inefficient public sector represents cost to the private sector as they interact with the public sector.
Okay.
We cannot allow this to continue. So this is an opportunity for us. Let's not cry so much. This is an opportunity to undertake certain reforms that gives us sustainability going forward. Other than that, please, nobody should sign up. There must be something on the table that is good enough to encourage individual bondholders and even pensioners to see that, look, we are doing this because we want to have a better tomorrow. Who wouldn't be happy to get along with that? Why should the Minister of Finance struggle so hard to convince us that they want to create a better future for us? We are actually doubting it because we know them. We lay down across the two main political parties who have had the opportunity to govern this country. We know them. We know their track record. We know what they told us in 2017. What they told us during COVID 2020 and beyond. We know, look, when we applied for the IMF program in 2014, the government then also told us that we're going to be the last one. We have history on our side. That should guide us how we discern the future. So that's why we are saying that, yes, it will get to the point where we can appeal to individual bondholders to come on board. But where we are now, the fiscal must do the necessary and come to the table with some kind of equity, with some kind of moral standing. That's all that we're asking for.
So the threat that you talked about, let's look at the threat of default. As you say, government may be sending us a signal. How serious could that threat be, and how should that impact the decision of these bondholders?
If we look at the target, 80%, maybe slightly below, if the government is able to get the institutions to sign up, as they have indicated, combined with some level of fiscal adjustments and expenditure cut savings, we should be good to go.
Okay.
That's the point. Okay. Let's not make it look as though without individual bondholders coming on board, the domestic debt exchange is a failure. No, that cannot be true. It's a combination of fiscal adjustment, structural, and debt restructuring. So you are looking at the mix. Okay? So it should be possible, actually, to exclude individual bondholders and do the necessary expenditure-based adjustment together with the institutions that have signed up, and then look at also the external to some extent, right? And we should be good to go. You know, if we make it look like individual bondholders are the reason this is no, please. There's no basis for that, please. Let's make progress as a country. Look, is this posture that has delayed this debt exchange from day one? If you look at the original debt exchange terms that was announced December 5th, you are asking yourself, how can people sit down and conceptualize something like this and announce it? But you could see the several revisions and the extensions. That is an admission that we actually did not holistically look at this and the impact across households, private sector. We didn't. Probably somebody has data looking at how much people have invested in bonds and think that Ghanaians are rich. No.
Okay.
We can't do it that way, please. It should not. We cannot. Let's not do that to ourselves. And I feel very sorry, and I'm a bit sad that we would allow our pensioners. You know, some of the people you saw there, some of the people, they taught some of us in the university. They taught us, please, Honorable Minister of Finance, exempt them. These are people who have given their due to the country. They've paid their dues. And, you know, we know some of the people you see there, some of the pensioners, some take less than 300 Ghana cedis a month.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I should disclose. Look, university professors, some of the people who propounded theories and the rest of it, if you see their retirement, it doesn't match the theories they propounded. This is Ghana. Please, let's not allow them to go through this. It's not fair, and it doesn't send a good signal to the youth in how we sacrifice for this country, assuming we were sacrificing.
All right, Professor Bokpin, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you also, Martin Kpebu, for making time to speak to us this morning. We're very grateful to all of you.
God bless you.
Let's get onto the phone lines now, and Kwesi is in Kaswa. Kwesi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. How are you?
I am fine. I hope you're fine too. What sacrifices are you prepared to make? You prepared to sacrifice?
Listen, for me, Kwesi, I don't think I have any sacrifices to make. In that, for me to be a senior citizen, a pensioner, with my legal money, my small money, that I've decided to put at a time with my bond, for it to increase in some way for me to use, and then for you to be fortunate to have this position.
Because you kindly reduce the volume on your radio set. We seems to be getting some feedback from you.
Oh, I'm far away from it.
Okay, go ahead.
For you to have the opportunity to be our leader, and then you misuse public funds, you mismanage public funds, you misappropriate public funds, you embezzle public funds. Look at the auditor's report. Look at what came out from this auditor's report. Then you couldn't manage this money. Then me, a pensioner, must spend money that I'll pick somewhere to use. Then you come and capitalize on it just because the money is with you for now. What sort of wickedness is this? What at all are we doing in Ghana? Listen.
Kwesi, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for joining us. Daniel in Medina, good morning.
Winston.
Yes, Daniel.
God bless you, Mama V. You guys said something that will be very soon. If you don't speak up, we will see you on the street and attack the people. And it's true. It's very true. 3 weeks ago, I came to Joy FM to drop a letter for the Super Morning Show. I don't know if you guys have received it.
I'll check it.
I gave, it's for Bamabi, it's for Kwadwo Yansin. Listen, I'm a young man who were trading a certain path. But because I listened to you guys this morning, I've decided to change the course of my life and live responsibly. Responsibly. So every day, if you come to my room, I have a prayer list that I pray for you people every day for the thoughts that you say. If people could make it to this time, I can also pray to them. Listen, it's not easy. These people are killing us. that a young man of 35 years will be working, save money, and he can't get access to his money. That his mother will be sending him money to feed. It's not easy. That thinking of going back to his old lifestyle, contemplating, it's not easy, listen. So these people, we have nothing to lose, but they have something to lose. And I called one day and I told somebody that if they don't take care, we will make sure, and mates work for them, houseboys work for them. Everybody knows everybody in this country. If they don't take them and they ruin our lives, we will end up ruling them. That's one of their children. So they should be very careful. Listen, I just go and check the letter that I put on the front desk for you people. And you, Mama B, Kwejo Yankson, and the other person, anybody that will stand against you people for speaking the truth for this society, that person will go down for you people. God bless you guys all.
God bless you, Daniel, but please be calm. Let's be calm, okay? Let's be calm. Thank you very much, Daniel from Medina. Don't do anything that you would regret later, so just be calm. Let's go to Tema, where Sheila is. Sheila, good morning. Hello, Sheila? Okay, I think we've lost Sheila. You can also join us, 0302-216-541, and you can also join us on 055-1111-997. Okay, we have another Daniel, this time from Tema. Daniel in Tema, good morning. Hello, Daniel.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Share your thought with us. Are you prepared to make sacrifices? You're prepared to make sure that what we are going through, we're able to overcome it?
I'm not sacrifice because a lot of sacrifices.
Daniel, we can hardly hear you. If you could reposition yourself, we'll be grateful.
Hello.
Yes, I think it's better now. Hello, Daniel. Oh, we've lost Daniel too. Let's go to South La, where Chidiak is. Chidiak, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, Chidiak. Share your thoughts with us. Chidiak.
I once made this statement that, and I repeat it, if the poor don't have anything to eat, they eat the rich and the clergy. If the clergy will not stand for the people, for the vulnerable, and they always mention the name of God, so what are they implying? What is it for? That they cannot stand for the poor and the vulnerable. The poor will come out to eat the rich and the clergy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chidiak from South La. Let's go to Adenta. Ni, good morning.
Winston, good morning.
Yes, Ni.
Winston. We should help him so that he will help us.
Yes.
Hey. Winston,
aren't you prepared to help him so he helps you?
Me, George. It not go happen. What is this? What at all are we done? What do they even listen to in this country? Hey, is this where we are going? You need money for your own people, money that you have kept, like your own sweat. That one too, you have to. God is taking care of us. And like the earlier caller said, see, some of us, anytime we go on our knees, we remember you, Joy FM staff, any day, every day. So keep up the good work. We are still in support. We are still keeping you in our prayers. Everything will be fine. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ni from Adenta. Let's go straight to Asuchari. Samuel, good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, Samuel. The minister wants you to make some sacrifices.
Yeah, really.
What sacrifices are you prepared to make?
Life is full of sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at it, even on the cross, that's sacrificing for us, irrespective of our sins, a righteous person. So without sacrifice, you cannot move forward. So I think we all should do much or to do well to sacrifice in a certain direction to save our nation. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Let's go back to Tema. Claude, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Winston.
Yes, Claude.
said, Winston, I believe that we are in difficult times. But then we should be a little careful in making threats. Because, when these threats get too serious and people take it into action and the country gets into a conflict situation, then everybody loses out and it becomes a difficult situation. But I believe that the ruling government should be able to make the cuts that are being requested, looking at emolument of Article 71 office holders, and then the top level executives. I think cuts should be made. If you look at this salary thing, the government did, I think the disparities are so much, and there are people taking much more salaries than the work they are doing. If the salaries were taking were commensurate to the work they were doing, we wouldn't find ourselves in this situation. So I believe that the cut should be made in salaries for those high-ranking people. The number of ministers should be cut, and then the number of parliamentarians going forward should be cut down. The 275, they are spending too much money on them.
Okay.
So regional representatives, where we have 10 parliamentarians from each region going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claude from Tema, for joining us. We're staying in Tema. Sheila is back on now. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Jason.
Yes, Sheila.
Yeah. During the e-levy time, we were told that if you don't prescribe to e-levy, the economy will crash. And that was the out. Now they've come up with this issue that if we don't subscribe to the debt, things will go up. So I'm a bit confused. I don't get it. It's like every time he's threatening us, every time he didn't do this, that, and that. I don't know. So we should just come clear and stop scaring us, just like Kenya Hosea has been saying. That's my contribution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheila. Let's go to Pram Pram. Nixon Yeboah, good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
Yes, boss.
It's been long.
Yeah.
Winston.
You're prepared to sacrifice?
It's the truest reflection of our wayward voting as Ghanaians. I repeat it. Whatever is happening is our truest reflection of our wayward voting as Ghanaians. Now, we said one was incompetent. This is super, super, super incompetent. Now, I hope the media houses will not even give opportunities to those so-called aspirants who are vying for the same office positions. You stayed in this mess, created this mess, and now you step out to come and tell us you are coming with solutions. Look, the word trust, when you take T away from the word trust, what remains is rust. And that is what Ghanaians are feeling right now. And I want the media to come together, to have this sort of the dialogue such that we engage other people that don't belong to these political parties instead. Winston, they simply don't have the answers for us. They can't. They simply can't. It is almost, I don't use the word impossible because the word impossible by itself suggests impossible. But when it comes to MPP and NDC, I can bet my last cedi. These people don't have the answers for us. And until in the coming elections, we decide to sack them from the parliament, we vote for independent candidates, and we perhaps give this country to an independent candidate to run the affairs because he has not invested such huge amounts to win elections. He will not go and rig elections. He doesn't have any better pay or any person to pay, any financier to pay. But we the people give him because we feel your ideas are best. He doesn't need to go around the whole country paying people money before we give him such votes. That is all what I'm on right now, because right now, the harm has already been caused. You have embezzled so much money, and you are telling me to give you more money, so I should go and embezzle. Are we serious? Why are these people still there? Why haven't they resigned by now? What can we do? We went for an impeachment process. Both parties, NPP and NDC, decided not to. Even when it comes to even vetting, who vetted them this month for him to come and be finance minister? Who vetted them? You sat down, vetted this month for him to come and mess up, and now you come again and talk to us. Sometimes I don't even want to hear them talk. And I hope every Ghanaian is as pissed as I am. So as we would go to the polls and not even do any offer, and Papa Nia, and say, for those family people are saying he's doing a good job. And then we are the ones doing the bad, we are just naysayers. For others, people are also saying the same. So if we don't vote, look, we all know people that are corrupt even within our small circles. And when they get into these positions, they become more corrupt. And these people are, I will not even say alleged, they are all thieves. We can see it in the COVID-19 expenditure that happened recently. You have money, $2 billion or so, you spend the money anyhow, and then you come back and tell me that somebody's bond he has bought because he believes in the country, you want to dip your hand in it, and then you're telling me that's the only way I should sacrifice for you. When the small taxes you got, you could prioritize and buy V8 and stuff and be driving inside. It's not about the taxes and it's not about revenue generation for the country. It's about the corruption that is leading us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nixon Yeboah in Pram Pram. Adjoa is in Dansoman. Good morning, Adjoa.
Good morning. Please, I have a little contribution.
Please go ahead.
I heard the woman pleading with the minister, the finance minister.
Yes.
And he seemed to not be bothered. My issue is, my husband is a bondholder, and I see their pain. Like, we are also in a similar situation. So my contribution is that all those in government, they shouldn't be paid. They should also give their salaries to the government so that they will use it to offset that debt exchange program that we are going to profit.
Hello, Adjoa.
Yes.
Okay. Please move away from the radio. Yes. You're saying that those in government should not be paid. They should.
Yes, exactly, because that is what we depend on. So if you are taking what we depend on from us, then you should also be willing to also participate. Sacrifice your salaries and of your benefits. Exactly. Because look at the woman was pleading with you that people earn as less as 2,000 cities and you don't care. Which I know that he earns more than that and get benefits too. So why don't you sacrifice all that for us? When we were in the boarding house, if you serve at the dining and you don't serve well and the food gets finished, you sacrifice. You just sit down. You clean your mouth and sit down and watch others eat. That's what leaders do. So they should also do that for us.
Thank you very much, Adjoa. Adai in Konongo, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, please. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, hope you're fine. Tell us, you're prepared to sacrifice?
No. You see, you take champagne, I take palm wine, and you are asking me to sacrifice. Is that reasonable?
Tell me.
Yes. The fact that we see Ghana is in a serious economic crisis, I think much more than a prolonged nightmare, you see, it should inform the government that it needs the input of all experts.
Hello, Adai. Oh, I think we've lost you, Adai. If you can, please try and get in touch with us again. You can also join us 0302-216-541. Kweku is in Kumasi, who will be our last caller. Kweku, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing well. I keep saying, and I'll continue to say, politicians are tricksters. All politicians, be it from the political divide network, not east, west, and south, they are all tricksters. You see, when they speak power, they come in and give us all stupid things. And much as we are blaming politicians, I also want to blame the citizens. Because when they come campaigning to us and they give us free words, we are the people that vote for them. And then they choose to do what they want to do to us. Because when they're coming for our power, they come in and then we go begging them for money. So when they come to power, because you see that they paid for the power that they have, so you have no right to question them. But if they're coming to us and they are giving us, dusting us money, left, right, center, and those kinds, and then we take it and then even throw it back to them. When they're coming, you see that yes, we are serious and we mean business. And this thing that you're saying is, when it was coming, all these people, and this one, you see all these NDC and MPP people, they are not talking. When they were in power, the only time you see all the MPs singing one song, it's the time that the money that they want to share or distribute will be coming to them. That is what they think, thinking that they are taking for us Ghanaians, and they come and say, I'm speaking for the vulnerable people. Vulnerable, look, we don't want it. No, we want exemption. That's what we need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Queen Kumasi, who's our final caller for now. Mama, what's Twitter saying?
At Fuiti says this is from people who have made no sacrifices whatsoever and clearly don't intend to. It's status quo for them and seismic change in economic fortunes for many. And I don't know how one can have any confidence that these prescriptions are going to improve our lot significantly. Na_Ahene says, are they willing to make sacrifices themselves? Have we not sacrificed enough? Nyavo John says, what sacrifices are they making themselves? They should reduce the size of the elephant government and needless expenditures they are making, and everything will be fine. Hashtag Joy SMS. Sovelbet says, if he was going to help us, and this is the finance minister, if he was going to help us, he would have helped us a long time ago. He has nothing for us. Just accept your failure and resign. Simplicita. Ekwa Gray says he should bring all percentages he made on all the loans he took in the name of Ghana. Benghazi says same story was said when he was about to introduce e-levy. Are we the problem, or Ken Oforiatta is the problem? Jonathan Williams says, when he was having the kinky party, did he ever invite any of us? When the COVID money came, did he deposit that money in our bank account? Please. Pa. All right. Bondholders. Okay, this one is... Joseph Addison says, no, I won't sacrifice. Jesus Christ did that on my behalf. Abdullah Al Hassan says he should pay the money. When he was borrowing and celebrating, did I get any? Augustine K says, when he was chopping nyafu nyafu, did he remember us? Abdul Rashid says, what sacrifice is he making as a finance minister and the government as a whole? They are living like Arabian kings and want the ordinary taxpayer who cannot make ends meet pay more. John says the president should reduce the number of his ministers and other appointees. Lipe Abaye says Ken Oforiatta should just resign. He's the cause of the mess. If he hadn't allowed the presidency to overborrow and spend, we wouldn't be where we are. He is the problem.